There's Bird on the window.
Oh, we had a guest.
What's up, Bird?
I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I could use a vacation day. I could use a day off. But you know what? It's been 3 whole days since last we were together. So I'm glad to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate, South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Happy Tuesday, July 5th. My name is Rob Brown. Directly across from me, on the other side of the glass, now exclusively metaphorically, he is the great one, the Alpha and the Omega of the Fan Upstate, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound. That is the Rob Brown Show. He is the content cash cow, the Sultan of Swag, the Professor of Perfection, the Wizard of Wave. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the great one, Lonzo. What up, Zoe?
How was your drive last night? Was it good?
So I went to yesterday. So over the weekend, the fam did a weekend in the hills of North Georgia. We went to Helen, Georgia. We spent the weekend in Mount Airy, which is just outside Helen, about 20 minutes outside of Helen. And I gotta tell you, we did Helen 2 of 10, maybe 3. Like it's just not for me. It's just not for me. So the first night,
the hills, the mountains.
No. So the premise of Helen. Have you been to Helen, Georgia?
No, I don't think I've ever thought. You know what? Let's go to Helen.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we went to Helen back. Here. So the concept of Helen is it's a German Alpine themed village, town, whatever, right? Like all the buildings, they all look like they're in the German Alps. All the signs are written in German, et cetera, et cetera. And you know, I was all in for that because your boy loves him some German culture.
Was Gunther there?
Lots of Gunthers. Not that specific one. I love me some German culture, German beer, schnitzels. Big fan. So we went and we got to Helen on Friday. So Saturday we just kind of hung out. We were staying in this really nice house out by a lake. We hung out. It was nice. Saturday we went to Helen. We got to Helen about 5 o'clock in the evening. We thought, let's go to dinner. So we drove into Helen and we kind of like made our way around and took some sightseeing. And then about 7, we're like, hey, let's grab some dinner. Let's hit some dinner. It's 7. The whole town shuts down at 7. Every restaurant was closed at 7. I'm like, guys, like, I understand the concept of like not wanting to be Panama City Beach and like have the beer drinking hooligans take over your city late at night to make it family friendly. But 7 o'clock is dinner time. That ain't beer. I mean, it's beer drinking time.
No,
it's
actually,
German, but it's dinner time.
5 o'clock would be dinner time. 7 o'clock is evening and, you know, maybe a snack or something.
No. 7 o'clock is dinner
The
time.
majority of people eat supper somewhere between 5 and 6.
I'm off of work at 5. How am I eating dinner at 5?
You go home and you have supper. That's what I do.
All right. Well, then you should try Helen, Georgia, because they made it for you.
The people who live there, are they older?
I don't know that anybody actually lives there. It's like a tourist town.
Okay, well, someone's got to live there.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people that live there that like.
I mean,
run
is there
the
like
business
tumbleweeds after 7?
It might as well have been. It was just people wandering. It was all out of towners wandering the streets going, have you seen a restaurant that's open? Have you seen a restaurant that's open? Are there any restaurants open? It's 7 o'clock. I'm hungry.
Do they have like a QT or a 7-Eleven or something?
They had a Wendy's.
There we go.
They had a Wendy's.
Did Wendy's close at 7?
I don't know. We were so mad we left. We went back on Sunday. It took an hour to do the last mile of traffic into this city, which does not have enough parking in it. Like, I'm sure, like, if it, I could see how it would be a lovely family-friendly location if the clock hits 7 and you're like, oh, well, go ahead and turn in, I guess. Go watch a couple episodes of Matlock. Make sure my dentures are ready for tomorrow.
I think Matlock is no longer a thing. I think it's probably like
What do we do
Law
now?
and Order. I'm
Law and
guessing.
Order?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Law and Order.
Yeah.
One of the Law and Orders.
Yeah. Law and Order, pick your version. If you are down with hitting the old hay about 7:15, Helen Georgia's for you. Anyway.
What, did you expect it to be Vegas or something?
No,
I mean,
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. I'm not asking to get tanked at 7 p.m. on the streets of Helen. I'm asking for a Wiener Schnitzel at 7 p.m. That's all.
were you ever able to get any of that kind of food there?
Yeah. So
Okay, all right.
We went back on Sunday. We took the nephew back, and we did the Georgia Mountain Coaster, which was nice. You wait in line in the blazing sun for an hour and a half to strap yourself onto a plastic board and ride down a mountain for 43 seconds.
That sounds cool, but I just gotta say, for someone complaining about things shutting down, you're sounding awful old now. I had to wait an hour or something for an hour to get on the coaster.
Listen, Linda. Listen. If you made me wait an
You
hour
call
and a half,
Linda. Don't let the hair fool you there. That's right.
if you made me wait an hour and a half, and at the end of the hour and a half was a German beer garden, complete with Wiener Schnitzel and sausages and other German delights, I would have gladly waited an hour and a half to get into the German beer garden and knock back a couple of dunkels. All in for that. But I waited an hour and a half in the sun to ride a luge for 43 seconds down a mountain. That was it.
Was it really like a luge?
Yeah, it's like a plastic board, carved out so your butt's on it. It's got little levers on the side. You push the levers forward to go fast. You pull them back to stop.
Oh, okay.
You're on like a metal. I'll show you a video of it. You're like a metal track, and it slides on the track. It is kind of like a luge on a metal track, and I can see how the concept of it's actually pretty rad.
Well, why didn't you go skeleton?
Because it's just a board with a seat in it. You can't like. Now, what I absolutely did do was when we got, because it's like a roller coaster. Got you up to the top, set you on the track, and you control how fast you go. If like you push the levers all the way down, it's full speed. You can pull them back to slow yourself down. And I just leaned the levers down and full sent down the hill, and it was entertaining. But it's like an hour and a half in the sun for 43 seconds of sliding down a hill. I could have been eating Wiener Schnitzel.
What was
and
the
drinking beer.
What was the slope angle?
I'll show you the video. Like
Okay,
it's not. You don't get off of it like, wow, greatest roller coaster ever. You're like, all right, that was good. That was good. That was fun. That was entertaining. Sure, why not? Then they have tubing. You can go tubing. You can take a bus out of Helen, get on a tube the river back into Helen, and the tube ride ends in Helen, which is fine until they're like, oh, by the way, no beer or beverages on the river. You just got to sit in your tube for an hour. Well, what the hell's the fun in that? Just sit in your tube. No drinks, no food, no music. Can't bring speakers and play music. You just sit in a tube with 10,000 other people in a clogged up river full of plastic inner tubes. What are we doing here, Helen?
So
we went to the Braves game last night.
you went on a family outing and you're complaining about it being family oriented, not the thing that you didn't want it to be. Because all the stuff you're talking about, not family oriented. All the stuff that it is appears to be family oriented.
If your idea of fun with the fam is standing in the blazing hot sun for an hour and a
spending
half,
quality time with people you don't get to see very often.
we did.
We
went to a Braves game.
Well,
Infinitely better.
yeah, but you shouldn't be talking the entire time there. While you're standing in line for an hour, think of all the things you can find out about the family that you didn't know since you haven't been around them for a while.
Found out that they all also get mad when you can't get dinner at 7 p.m. We learned that about my
Maybe
fam.
they're just upset at Uncle Rob for waiting till 7 o'clock to try to get some
But he's
food.
waiting till 7. That's dinner time. All right. What is dinner time? Text me, 71307. Sincerely, don't be a smart aleck. What is dinner time for the fam? What is dinner time for you? Is it
All right,
5,
so you're
7,
you're
10?
questioning the integrity of the listeners right away.
No,
to asking them
I'm
to not
making
be a smart
poll.
aleck. So what you're saying is, no matter if the poll sides with me, that's between 5 and 6, they're just being a smart aleck.
Lonzo, you have seen our text line before. Come on, man.
My
Come on.
people.
You have seen, yes, exactly. All right. Texter says Zoe, remember, Rob is a 1%er and used to fast passes and not waiting in line.
That's probably true. I'm sorry I missed that. I didn't think about that.
All
Did you
right.
tell them who you were?
No, they don't know me in Helen, turns
If
out.
you have to tell them who you are, then
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
So last night we went to the Braves game. We got there. We walked into the stadium about 5:30. We watched the end of warm-ups. They did a nice little 4th of July presentation. And then the game started. And
Wait, so you had to wait an hour before the game started?
No, we elected because there was stuff to do. And you know what I could do? I could get food and beer and enjoy and shade and not. Oh, and by the way, a baseball game's not 43 seconds long after.
I don't
it.
like the canvas, the picture that you're painting of yourself, because there's one word that seems to be coming up quite often, and the absence of said word really bothered you.
Beer?
Yes.
I'm in a German town. That's what you do. That's what the Germans do. I'm not saying everybody has to participate, but I'm saying the Germans are known for beer. It's kind of their thing. It's like going to Paris and not being able to get a bagel. Oh, no, a baguette. That's it. New York, you get a bagel. Go to New York, and they're like, sorry, no bagels. It's after 7 p.m., no pizza. Well, what am I here for? All right. So we went to the Braves game. Anticlimactic ending to the story. Went to the Braves game last night. Great start. Kyle Wright was throwing a doozy. Bases loaded. Dansby Swanson clears them with a 3-run double. Bravos go up 6-1. Like, yeah, let's go. My little nephew, my brother was dumped on his head as a child, so he's a Cubs fan. He's raising my little nephew to be a Cubs fan. I hooked the little nephew. We bought him a little foam tomahawk, you know? My man was chopping it up. And he's like, he tells me, I'm pretty sure, I don't, the family's not up yet, so I'm out there listening. But he goes, Uncle Rob. And I said, yeah. And he goes, don't tell my dad. I'm going to pretend to be a Cubs fan, but I'm really a Braves fan now. I'm like, yes! The brainwashing has worked. And then the lightning showed up, and the rain showed up, and a 2-hour and 45-minute rain delay forced me and the lady friend to hit the road back, listen to the end of the game. I'm so mad because, and not just because of the rain delay. It happens. It happens in a baseball game. But they start the game back up at 11:38 last night. I'm listening to it in the car. Now, we had to give my little brother, my mom, and my nephew, and my sister-in-law a ride back to the hotel because it was pouring rain when we left Truist. So we gave them a ride back to the hotel. Well, at 11:30, pull over to get gas, and as I am, the game starts. I text my little brother. I'm like, hey, bro, game just started back up. He's like, yeah, I know, and sends me a picture. This little punk has now finagled his way back into the stadium and is sitting 2 rows behind the Braves dugout for the second half of this game. And Albert Pujols checks into the game. So not only does he get to go watch the second half of the game without me, but my man ends up a pair of rows behind the Braves dugout. It's not even a Braves fan. A pair of rows behind the Braves dugout to watch the Bravos knock off the Redbirds 6-3. And he's texting me pictures. He's like, hey, it's Albert Pujols. Hey, it's Dansby Swanson. Hey, it's Austin Riley. I'm like, yeah, I know, jerk.
Is that a measure of fandom that he was willing to stick it out and you were not?
He's not even a Braves fan.
I know. What's that say about you? I mean, what do you need sleep for? You can stay for the entire time and just come to work.
Listen.
Back when you were younger, Rob.
If I was 25, I stick it out. Listen, I'm not even going to say if I was 25. If I was my age, didn't have to work today, I stick it out. No question. I will tell you that the lady friend, who I adore, 0% chance I was getting her to stick out a 2 hour and 30-minute rain delay and then watch another 2 hours of baseball. Just wasn't happening. Wasn't happening. So the Braves end up winning that game 6-3 and are now within 3.5 games of the Mets. We'll talk baseball later on in the show. We got a lot of stuff to get to on the show today because last Friday we had a lot of stuff to get to on the show. What with NBA free agency being a boat show right now. But we didn't get to because college football's expansion last week, courtesy of USC and UCLA, pretty much dictated what that show was about. So we're going to catch up on that. We have got NBA free agency to get into. We've got the end of the Deshaun Watson disciplinary hearing we're going to get into. There are more rumors about college football expansion, including an ACC team being targeted by the Big Ten that is not Clemson, Florida State, or Miami, which could start another chain of dominoes. We'll talk about that. We got some Major League Baseball we need to get into. We've got MLB All-Star finalists. They're officially named. We very, very briefly brought it up on Friday, but Rob Manfred has suggested the possibility of robo-umps taking over in 2024 legitimately. We're going to talk about that. And the most college football blog I've ever found in my life. I'm going to tell you about all of it as the show rolls on. Before we get there, phone lines open, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE, 844-FAN-PHONE. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will read them on the air. We also want you to come watch the live stream. Go to facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, or go to YouTube and search The Rob Brown Show. Search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. You can like and subscribe and watch the show live. Go behind the scenes with me and the Wizard of Wave, Lonzo. Ask us questions off the air. We'll have some fun. All right. So the question we got for you, what is officially sit down for dinner time in your life? Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 7? Is it 8? What time do you sit down and have dinner?
8.
Yeah, some of us about that late life. Dinner time for me is usually between 7 and 8. Unless I'm in Helen, Georgia. And then it's apparently 3 p.m. Back after this. I want your answers on the text line. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
Prisma.
All right, stream got to cut a live. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, amigos and amiguettes. Steven, good morning, buddy. Dinner at 5. How do you... All right, listen. I'm dead, and I'm asking this question seriously, right? How do you have dinner at 5 p.m.? Sincere question. How do you have dinner at 5 p.m.? And I'm asking that because I don't have a 9 to 5, right? Like, I don't have a 9 to 5. I am out of here between 2 and 4 o'clock, depending on what my day is like, right? If I got a big time, crazy busy day, I might be till 4, occasionally 4:30. But even when I'm out of here at like 3, I don't go home and go, it's time to eat, right? Like I gotta decompress a little bit. I gotta decompress, I gotta sit, I gotta relax, I got stuff to do, I gotta run errands after work, like I gotta get my regular life stuff done. And you guys are getting home and eating at 5 p.m. How? How? I don't understand that. I don't get it.
So at what point did you decide to shift everything 2 hours? Was this after you went to college? Did you not
Shift
did you
everything
not
2
eat
hours?
supper around between 5 and 6 when you were growing up?
Shift everything 2 hours?
Yeah,
What did
when
I
it should be
shift?
5 o'clock, and then you moved it to 7 o'clock as far as eating. When did that happen? When you decided you were going to sleep in? I'm curious. When did you eat growing up?
Not at 5. My dad was getting off of work at 5 p.m. We could have had dinner because we're still working. If you have an 8 to 5, how do you eat at 5 o'clock?
I said between 5 and 6. You can definitely eat because, some of the better meals, at least in my opinion, 20 minutes is all you need to cook a good meal. You could cook a great meal in 20 minutes. So you can be eating by, like Adam says, around 5:45. Also depends on how long of a drive you have. Also depends on if, someone's actually home and can go ahead and cook. 7 o'clock's just weird. It just is.
7 o'clock's just weird. I will tell you, I'm a little shocked by this. But the answers I'm getting so far are predominantly 5 to 6 o'clock for dinner time. Texter says dinner for me at 5:30 if it's with the fam 6. Another one says I eat dinner as soon as I'm home from work, ordinarily between 5:15 and 5:45. Another guy says I eat dinner as close to 5 as I can, depends on cooking and prep time. Another texter says the only people eating at 5 o'clock are senior citizens looking for a discount. Dinner is between 6:30 and 7:30. That guy's in my game. That guy's in my wheelhouse.
Did you say in your gang?
In my game.
Oh, okay.
Like
All right.
in the way I rule
right.
my life.
That's. I'm glad you found one.
Yes, I'm in that 6:30 dinner time gang, yo.
I don't want to know what the gang sign is. I don't.
It's that. It's a fork.
That's not okay. That's a 3-prong fork. That's a 1% fork. That's just a salad fork.
So let's get into some stuff. Let's talk some sports, shall we, my friends? I want to start with this. Ladies and gentlemen, the whiniest article I've ever heard in my life. It comes from Bucky'sFifthQuarter.com. It is the SB Nation site for the Wisconsin Badgers. Drew Ham wrote this article. Drew Ham, which is an appropriate last name because he hammed it up in the writing of this piece of literature. The title of it, Lonzo, is College Football is Dying. Subtitle. And I don't know if there's anything that can save it. It's dying, Lonzo!
Well, I mean, college football as we know it is already dead. It died with NIL. It died with transfer portal. It is dying with changing to pods. That's so stupid. By the way, if you're going to do taps, it should sound sad.
I'm not sad because this article is silly. College football is a billion-dollar industry. It is not dying. It is, by definition, too big to fail.
You could say the tradition of college football is dying.
If you want to make that argument, you can. I would disagree with you. Can Clemson still run down a hill? Yeah.
Someone's going to trip eventually. I don't want to see anyone get hurt, but someone is going to trip eventually. Maybe it has happened and I just didn't get to witness it.
Can the Gamecocks still have a chicken riding a remote-controlled car on the field? Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
They have them a little space pod for when it rains. Have you seen that?
I have not seen the space pod.
So, if you haven't been to a South Carolina game, and the overwhelming majority of you guys have, Cocky's got like a little field goal post he sits on, and it's attached to. I jokingly call it a remote control car. It's like a battle bot, right? I guess it's made by the robotics class school, whatever, there at SC, and it's got a little goalpost on it that Cocky sits in. But if it starts raining, and when they have to transport him from the stadium back to wherever he lives, that little battle bot has another little battle bot like it, and it's got a little UFO house with windows on top. So Cocky climbs inside of that. No, Sir Big Spur. Cocky's the big one. Sir Big Spur's the little one. My goodness, SC fans, don't come at me. That's my bad. Sir Big Spur goes into this little UFO on like a battle bot. And it's got like blue and red lights inside, so you can look in through the window and you can see Sir Big Spur chilling in his little rolling coupe bot or whatever. And they roll him across the street back to Big Sir Big Spur's house.
Does rain affect your feathers or something? I don't
know.
Okay.
The lady friend was like, good thing you corrected yourself. Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, I'm like, uh-oh. I'm getting a text on that one. Fair enough. So Sir Big Spur has like his little rolling house. Is that still going to happen in Columbia? Yes. Do you know why? Because those traditions aren't going to die because there's two conferences.
All right. Entrances have nothing to do with schedules and rivals and all that kind of stuff. Of course, entrances are not going to go away because they still have to enter.
All right. Let me read you. Let me read you a selection. A selection from this article at Bucky'sFifthQuarter.com. Basically, his argument is college football is a regional sport. And by having SC and UCLA joining the Big Ten, by having the Big Ten looking at expanding and potentially picking up, by the way, the rumor going around right now, North Carolina to join the Big Ten, is that you're taking away from the regional aspects of it, right? And if you take away from the regional aspects of it, college football loses its charm. He's like, yo, I'm a Wisconsin guy. I love playing Purdue and Minnesota and Ohio State. I don't want to play SC and UCLA. And then he goes into this, right? He goes into this, and I quote, I will always love the University of Wisconsin and their college football team, but eventually, after decades of college football not loving me back, I'll stop caring. I am a passive fan of the NFL, MLB, and NHL after growing up an extremely active fan of all three. There are varying reasons for my lapsed fandom, but I think it's important to note that no fan is 100% loyal. If things keep getting worse, and adding USC and UCLA to the Big Ten to set up a future super conference is certainly making things worse. Fans will stop caring. I will stop caring. I don't want to stop caring about Wisconsin football. It has been an important part of my life for, well, all of it. To bring this back to the Philadelphia... By the way, here's my favorite freaking thing about this. His whole premise, the entire of this article is, if you start bringing in other parts of the country to the Big Ten and making it a national conference, Big Tens won't care. Big Ten fans will stop caring because they only care about Big Ten country, which is fantastic. because he starts the story by going, I'm from Philly, yo. I'm a Philly kid. I grew up in the burbs of Philly.
Okay.
My dad brought me up in Philly, and despite the fact that I live in Philadelphia, if Wisconsin spreads out of Wisconsin, I'll stop loving the sport. My guy, Philly's not in Wisconsin, bro. It's
right.
not even close.
I don't believe, unless I phased out, you didn't mention that part. Did you mention that at the beginning? Because I don't recall you saying that.
I forgot to set up the part.
Because the entire time I'm thinking, why does this dude not have a Wisconsin accent? Whatever that is.
I was working the jab. I was working the hook, the body bags, like the body blow, and I forgot to set up the jab, which was my dude opened the article with. My dad was a Badger guy. I grew up a Badger guy. ... in Philly. But if Wisconsin starts playing games in not Wisconsin, I won't love Wisconsin anymore. Shut up. Yes, you will. You know what this is? This was every dude who went, if Colin Kaepernick takes a knee, I'll never watch the NFL. Yes, you will. And yes, you did. Stop. I'm not saying you have to be cool with what's happening, but stop with the league's gonna die if they do this one thing I don't like. No, they're not. Do you understand the only reason they are expanding is because they're gonna make more money by doing it? Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, right? Come on, my guy. You wrote this article in Philly, talking about how if Wisconsin plays a team on the Atlantic coast, you'll not care anymore. Yes, you will. Yes, you will, dude. Stop.
Isn't that the Pacific Coast?
Well, he's.
I know they'll be playing a team from the Pacific.
Yes,
Coast,
USC, UCLA.
Yeah,
but he's also talking about them picking up, because the Big Ten's now looking at North Carolina, Clemson, FSU, Miami as possibilities.
The Atlantic Coast will be closer than the Pacific Coast as far as that goes.
Yes, if he's in Philly and they pick up UNC, you're literally closer to see a Wisconsin game. My guy, you are so wrong. And your argument is beaten by you. You're in Philly and you love Wisconsin. Don't tell me if Wisconsin suddenly has to play a game in California. Oh, what a road trip. You're in Philly, guy. Philly's as close to Wisconsin as Wisconsin is to LA. It's not, but it's a point. It's a haul. That he's like, oh, what are we gonna do if those kids in Wisconsin have to travel to LA to play a game? What are you gonna
Wisconsin's
do?
a little bit closer than some of the other Big Ten teams that are going to have to travel.
What do you mean, what are you going to do? You're going to wake your ass up. You're going to watch College Game Day. You're going to watch Wisconsin v. USC out in California. And then you're going to go, hey, go Badgers. And you're going to drink a beer and eat a brat or whatever you do in Philly. And then you're going to take a nap and wake up and watch whatever the late games are that day. What do you mean, what am I gonna do? You're gonna do everything exactly the same as you do now, just the team on the other side of the TV is gonna have a different logo on the helmet. That's literally it. What a whiny article for no reason. If they expand the Big Ten, I'm gonna stop caring. Well, then you're not a fan, my guy. And for the record, I am not, you have never heard me in 2.5 years being on the radio here, you have never heard me say, turn in your fan card. You're not a real fan. You can do this as a fan. You can't do that as a fan. Because I'm not the arbiter of fan cards.
Because there isn't one. And if you say you are, you're lying.
I don't make the rules as to what you are and aren't allowed to be a fan of, but I can say this. If you are a diehard Wisconsin guy, to the point that you are running the SB Nation site for whiskey, and your take is, if the Big Ten expands, I'll stop caring about Wisconsin, then you don't care about Wisconsin in the first place. But I'm going to go on the record and make a bet, Zoe, that in 4 years, when the Big Ten is a bona fide super conference and the SEC is a bona fide super conference, I will bet that if we go find old Drew Ham's Twitter account, I bet he's talking about Wisconsin Badger football. Just a guess. My guy, you're in Philadelphia as a Wisconsin fan. Them adding USC and North Carolina is not going to impact you at all. You're still going to play Purdue. You're still going to play Ohio State. You're still going to get your asses kicked by both of them. What are you sad about? You have put up with Wisconsin being average for 20 years of your life, but this is the bridge too far? Stop it. Stop. The dystopian college football fans are starting to aggravate me. You don't have to like NIL or transfer portal or super conferences, but stop with the college football's gonna die. No, it's not. If it was, they wouldn't be doing any of this. I promise. You may not like the direction it's going in, but you're not gonna suddenly stop caring about it. Texter says, fan, the blogger makes no sense. Do you think SEC fans are going to stop chanting SEC just because Texas and Oklahoma joined? No. Ole Miss just won the College World Series. And I saw SEC fans dropping the SEC chant all over social media.
Well, they don't chant Big Ten and Big Ten because it's not Big Ten. So if you're chanting, it's not because it's big something, some other number.
B16. B16. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
It doesn't. I actually think the SEC is the only, the chant's wonderful, but they're the only ones who do that.
Yeah.
Does the ACC chant ACC? I don't think so.
No. No one else does it.
They shouldn't either.
No one else does it but the SEC. All right. I read that this morning. I read that article this morning, and I was like, oh, my God, please cry more. I'm not that guy. I'm not a jerk. I'm really not. I'm really a nice guy. Ask the sheer number of listeners that have met me. You may not like me on the air. Rarely have I come across somebody in real life that after getting the chance to talk to me off the air still doesn't like me. I'm a really nice guy. I promise. But Drew Ham, whine more. I'm begging you, dude. It is terrific content. If they had North Carolina, I'll stop loving Wisconsin. I grew up talking Badger football in the garage with my dad. But if they add North Carolina, I won't let my kids be Badger fans. Yes, you will. Stop it. Let me take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute because we do have some more stuff to talk about. And I will not be spending the entire 2 hours and 22 minutes remaining on college football expansion. I shan't. I'm Rob Brown. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
So if the listeners on the stream can do me a favor, around supper time, which is 5 to 6 o'clock, please message Rob on your social media, whatever you choose. Message Rob and let him know that you're eating supper because he would appreciate that right around that time. He won't see it till the next day,
You can let
but
me know.
still.
Just text the text line that it's supper time. That'll be fine. The Grasshoppers? Is that a minor league team? My nephew Lou just asked, who's on your shirt? And I told him and said, that's from a cartoon that I'll share with you one day and upset your father because you're going to get hooked on it.
It's an awesome show. Went for a really long time. You get to see him as a little kid. And my granddaughter, who turns 4
Saw that.
next month,
She was watching today.
when she comes to my house quite often, Papa, can we watch Goku?
Yeah. Out here shaping the next generation.
I think it's a ploy to play with my action figures, but it works.
I was going to say, and that bothers you, why? Burning the midnight oil.
Reminds me, I still haven't checked to see who's facing the wall yet, but I got a pretty good idea that it's probably me. We all missed on the last one, so.
I honestly do not know who won Money in the Bank.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
then. Do you know who won the
I know who won the
women's?
and I
Yeah.
know she cashed in.
Yes, which was, it got me. I wasn't
Yeah.
even thinking that. It really got me. The music hit. I'm like,
Yep.
wow. And then immediately she gets it in an ankle lock. I'm like, man,
I
that's
was like,
messed
no,
up.
Don't do this. I was going to say, if they didn't let her get it, I was going to be furious. Lonzo and Rob with you. Wrapping up our numero uno right here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I want to do this real quick because we mentioned it very, very briefly on Friday, but we had to kind of run through it because we had so much college football expansion talk. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred told ESPN's Don Van Natta Jr. that in 2024, robo-umps, quote, will likely be introduced to Major League Baseball. Van Natta wrote, quote, one possibility is for the automated system to call every pitch and transmit balls and strikes to a home plate umpire via an earpiece. Another option is a replay review system of balls and strikes with each manager getting several challenges a game. Here's my question. Why would you do that? Why would you set up the challenge system, right? You part of the reason you do this, part of the reason that you go robo-ump is to speed the game up, right? To speed the game up. Soon as the ball crosses the dish, the ump's got a robot in his ear going, ball, strike, strike, ball, strike. Why would you?
I hope it doesn't sound like that. People are going to get some complexes.
The umpire's going to lose their minds.
You just see twitching.
So you got an earpiece that would dramatically speed the game up by just telling the ump, and Angel can still do his stupid punch out if a guy strikes out to make it all about him. I'm good with that.
Have you ever umpired a game?
Yes, I have.
And you did nothing? You just kind of...
You just pull the fist
It's
back.
still a little bit of
He's
something.
out.
Yeah, you put your fingers out and it's a curse.
So, well, I don't know why you go challenge system. And could you imagine how amazingly terrible that's going to be if Brian Snicker can challenge 10 pitches per game? You know he's gonna. And you also know that he's going to do it in spots to throw a batter off his rhythm, right? To buy his pitcher an extra few seconds of prep time. It's a terrible plan. Just put the robo-ump in play. Ball one.
All right.
Strike two.
If you get dependent on the robo-ump and the robo-ump doesn't work, is the game over?
First off, the robo-ump will work. And what do you mean dependent on
If
it?
you get dependent on it.
Like umpires suddenly forget how to call balls and strikes?
Absolutely. Because now it's being done by a robot and they're just out there to fill space. So, and the robot doesn't work, it's baseball. Will they call the game?
I mean, no, they'll still have the umpire go back to
Well,
it.
there'll
but-
be like a lot of confusion. Like 2 years from now, after it's been established and they're dependent upon the robots, and then a robot gets hacked or, the parts get rusty or something, it doesn't work anymore. What happens? Does the game get canceled? I say it does because that's baseball.
I respect your overwhelming commitment to doing whatever you can to derail Skynet in its infancy. I respect that. I respect you trying to save humanity in a thankless effort, because if you're successful and you derail Skynet, we'll never know.
I'm a beacon in the darkness, and I'm okay with it never being known that I am the one who single-handedly stopped it, because I know.
Yeah. Lonzo, the beacon in the darkness. I respect that. I like it. Look, just put it in play and let's move on. The umpires have been so damn bad this season, right? Cody Decker and I just back and forth send each other text of terrible calls that umpires have made over and over and over. Hey, man, did you see this one? Like, yep, sure did. Did you see this one? Yep, sure did. Did you see this one? Yep, sure did. The umpires are making a mockery of the game and themselves with how bad they are. If Skynet will make the world better, I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. If they can do simple things like, did that ball cross the plate? Sure did. Strike one. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. How bad is that? It's not bad. It's good. It's a good thing. All right, other story I wanted to get to is we kind of bang out some stories we didn't have time to knock out before we went to the weekend. Kit Karbler and Dmitry Rudenko are a pair of bros that got themselves an unexpected surprise last week. These two cats live in Denver, Colorado. You may remember that Denver is the home of your 2022 Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche. Well, Kit Karbler and Dmitry Rudenko were chilling at their house last week when a guy came to the door, knocked on it, shook their hands, and said, "It's your time." They said, "Who are you?" He said the delivery guy acted like I was expecting a package. He's like, "Hey, we're here." And I'm like, "Hi, who are you? What do you have?" The guy turned around and opened the trunk. And what does he have to drop off at the house of Karbler and Rudenko? Two guys who are noticeably not on the Colorado Avalanche team, but the Stanley Cup itself. The cup handlers rolled up to the house of these two dudes, Kit Karbler and Dmitry Rudenko, a pair of just regular bros in Denver, and we're like, "Here's the cup. Enjoy, fellas."
Bro, that's the Stanley Cup. Bro.
Karbler said, "I was working in the media room on the computer." Rudenko said, "I was in the kitchen doing my thing, and I saw the car pull in the driveway, and the trunk is opening, and there's two guys opening the chest. I recognized it from all the games, the black chest, and I just jokingly said, 'Is that the Stanley Cup?' And he goes, 'Yeah.' And I'm like, 'Yeah, sure.'" Lord Stanley was on its way to the house of an Avalanche player just around the corner from these two guys. Karbler said, "Here's this sparkling thing in this box with this velvet cover." And I said, "Can I touch it?" And the guy goes, "Sure." And he goes, "I felt the rim because I saw it get dented the night before." Karbler got one photo with the cup before the handlers realized these guys don't play for the Avalanche, these two mid-40s retired dudes in the burbs of Denver. He said he got one photo, and it was not a selfie. He just got a picture of the cup. So what did he do with it? He posted it on Nextdoor under the caption, "Lost and Found."
So the one thing out of the entire story, it's an amazing story. Plus, if it happened to me and you, we'd be playing it off like, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for bringing it in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was put it right over there.
Yeah, just Set it right over there by that microphone.
Yeah.
I got it for, what was it, 24 hours you'll be back?
Yeah.
24 hours?
Okay. All right. We'll take good care of it.
Oh, I would be raising hell with that thing. Are you kidding me? Parading it through downtown
The
like
other thing,
I was.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other thing about the story is he called it a media room in his house.
Yeah.
You call it a media room? Do you call it? You don't
I call mine a studio.
You
I've got
call
a
you
studio
also
in the
call
house.
call it a man cave and a nerd cave and all that.
Yeah, 'cause,
Do you ever call it the media room?
No, I mean, it's a studio for me, which I also recognize is quite pretentious, but it's a studio.
Oh, it's absolutely a studio. You do a nationally
Nationally syndicated radio show.
out of that
And
studio.
play some music in there. It's,
There you
it's
go.
a studio.
Yeah,
I understand it's pretentious, but, it is what it is.
You don't call it a media room. I mean, that's even nerdy amongst nerds. You just don't do that.
Denver 7's Russell Haythorne, who you know is the anchor, right? Russell Haythorne. Russell Haythorne said, "Where was it going?" And they say, somebody on the team. He said, "Are you guys hockey fans?" And Karbler said, "We are now." He said, "We watched all the finals games. It was unbelievable for me. It was like finding a treasure. Our neighborhood is called Hilltop, but it's going to be Hockey Top for a while." My guys opened the front door to Ombre going, "It's your time with the cup." Guys who are definitely not NHL players, enjoy. You love to see it. You love to see it.
I am curious if if the Stanley Cup showed up at a door around here, how many people would know what it was?
Right? Yeah. I mean, I got to think the Stanley Cup has made it to like household recognition,
I don't
right?
know. I mean,
Even in the South. Like if this happens in Minnesota, the whole neighborhood's on their way over, right? If it happens in Greer, I got to imagine that the Stanley Cup is it's recognizable. Even if you're not like, "Oh, I knew who won it." If they pop the Stanley Cup out, you'd be like, "That's the cup, man."
if it shows up at a mobile home park in Lawrence, they have no idea what that is. But they would figure out what to do with it like others have. That's a pretty big cup. We can put something in that.
My guys, you fill it up with Jaeger and you drink it well past 7 p.m. That's what you do. Are you kidding me? I'd be marching up and down Main Street, Greenville, like I won that bad boy myself. I'm
Just
Cole
like
McCarr.
rent a golf cart just
Yeah.
so you could go up and down the road. Yeah.
I'm Nate McKinnon, baby. Let's go. Let's go. It's a cup. Cups are filled with whiskey. Let's have some fun. All right. Coming up in the next hour of the show, we will open up with some NBA free agency talk because it, for the last 4 days, has been wild. Zion re-ups with the Pelicans. That's great news. Could the Pels now be in a position to partner him up with Kevin Durant? I hope not, but maybe. So where does KD land and how does it impact the rest of the league? We're going to talk about that to open the segment. After that, Ryan McGee says that SEC v. B1G for conference supremacy is now inevitable. What's his argument? And does it impact South Carolina and Clemson fans? I'll give you that and plenty more. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rob. He's the great one. And you are listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening to the Fan Upstate.
So let me address Darth first. Yeah, I don't care about that, leaving them in the package. Toys are meant to be played with.
Oh.
And that's what they are. I mean, you know, I don't care about the money part. And I think Trey has a great point. Why do they chant AEW and they don't chant WWE? I think there's kind of an arrogance, defiance about it to a degree, and WWE is hard to say. So if it's hard to say WWE, think of how hard it's going to be to chant it. The people who work at WWE cannot say WWE.
Oh, can't you see? You belong to me.
After supper, because supper happens
supper,
at
of
5
course.
o'clock.
I mean, it's an ungodly late hour of 7 p.m. We should be in pajamas at that point.
You probably are.
Sometimes. Don't shame me.
I'm not. We're talking about the average person, Trey, who has the ability to do it at that time. Back during a horrible time in my life when I was here till 7, it was difficult for me. Between the two stations, though, I have worked every single shift except for overnights because I may have helped with that before too when we had technical problems. Oh, oops. We're a minute early. My bad.
That's all right. Be all right.
It's not though.
The people get 1 more minute of me. It's good for them. You've done them a favor. Our numero dos to the Rob Brown Show starts right now. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob, that's me. The Wizard of Wave, Lonzo, over there. He can't wait till the show's over at noon. That's just about time to put on pajamas and get ready for bed. And you, 844 fan phone, 844-FANFONE, 844-326-3663 is the phone number. Can also text the radio broadcast on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, and we will read them on the air. Let's dive straight into this because NBA free agency has been, shall we say, chaotic at the least. Free agency started last Thursday at midnight. And, Friday we woke up. We had some news before we did the show. We knew that Kevin Durant had asked for a trade out of Brooklyn. He did so, of course, hours after Kyrie Irving re-signed with the Nets. Kyrie was like, we got to do better. We got to run it back. Katie was like, yeah, no, we don't. Later. And decided to ask for a trade out. He has not received it yet, partially because the Nets are looking for a, quote, historic haul, end quote, in order to bring, or to send, I should say, Kevin Durant out of Brooklyn. Now, we know that Devin Booker has re-upped with Phoenix, 4 years, $224 million. Ja Morant agreed to a 4-year designated rookie extension, which will work out to be worth about $226 million. Nikola Jokic agreed to the richest contract in NBA history, 5 years, $264 million. And to open free agency, Karl Anthony Towns agreed to a 4-year, $224 million Supermax extension. Obviously, we talked about KD and Kyrie and how that worked, but we've had a lot of other stuff go down. James Harden and Bradley Beal both declined player options. Beal signed a 5-year, $251 million max contract with the Wiz minutes in a free agency, but no deal has been done for Harden. DeAndre Ayton was still on the table to open free agency. So where do we sit since we last talked to you? Well, you got to go back all the way to the 1st of July. On the 1st of July, when things started going crazy, we got like super for real busy. Andre Drummond signed a 2-year, $6.6 million deal with the Bulls. Jalen Brunson, a 4-year, $104 million deal with the New York Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns initially signed the 4-year, $224 million Supermax with the T-Wolves. We told you about that. We told you about Jokic. We told you about Morant and Booker. Gary Payton Jr. finalized a multi-year deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. So Gary Payton, too, will be moving on, 3-year, $28 million. Ricky Rubio is still in the league, as evidenced by his 3-year, $18 million deal with the Cavs. We learned later on the 1st that Danilo Gallinari is going to, was finalized as released from the San Antonio Spurs. Once he clears waivers, likely will be a Boston Celtic. Yusuf Nurkic, 4-year, $70 million deal with the T-Blazers. Zach LaVine, a 5-year, $215 million max contract to return to the Bulls with a 5th-year player option. John Wall has agreed to the Clippers. 2-year deal for the taxpayer mid-level, about $13.5 million. Robin Lopez was a free agent. He is back in Cleveland after leaving the Magic last year. Here's where it started to get interesting. The Atlanta Hawks sent Kevin Huerter to the Sacramento Kings. They got back Justin Holiday, Maurice Harkless, and a future first-round pick. The Kings are sending a 2024 lottery-protected first-rounder to the Hawks, according to ESPN. We also saw Kevin Looney. He has agreed to a 3-year, $25.5 million deal to return to the Warriors. We saw Rudy Gobert, and this was the one that kind of broke ESPN for a little while. Rudy Gobert was sent to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The T-Wolves sent Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, and Leandro Bolmaro to the Jazz in return for Gobert. Utah will also get an unprotected first-round pick from the T-Wolves in 23, 25, 27, and a top 5 protected pick in 29 for Rudy Gobert.
Wait. Did they send their entire team for Rudy Gobert? That's a lot. Was it 6 players? I lost count.
Beasley, Beverly, Kessler, Vanderbilt, Bolmaro is 5, plus first-round picks from the Wolves in 23, 25, 27, and a top 5 protected pick in 29. Yes, Utah has effectively decided to blow it up. That's what's happening here. The best part of it was, I don't know if you caught this, Brian Windhorst was on ESPN hours before this went down. Wendy was on ESPN, and you guys know I've given Windhorst crap, but when dude's plugged in. And he's like, hey, I need to point out something that's going on with the Jazz. And he was saying this in front of whatever roundtable show he's on. And he goes on this like, Lonzo, I mean, I'm listening to this speech standing in the Aldi in Taylor's with my phone held to my ear. The lady friend's like, what are you doing, dude? We're in a grocery store. Stop. Like, I got to hear what Wendy's saying here. Well, can you wait? No, I really can't. So I'm listening to Wendy's 2-minute, effectively conspiracy theory. I'm saying in my head, I'm like, Zoe would have the music going right now. Because he's like, oh, Utah's doing this, and they're doing that, and they did this, and they said this, and something's happening, something's happening, something's happening. They're going to blow it up. Everybody's like, Brian, did you, before you came on the air today? Wendy's like, no, something's going down. And then half an hour later, Gobert to the T-Wolves and return for 5 players and 4 picks. They show Wendy on ESPN, and he does this, Lonzo. Just the double fingers of victory. Told you. Told you. And everybody's like, Utah, what are you doing? Hey, Utah's blowing it up. They're blowing it up, and we know that now. And we've seen some other players that have moved around. On the 2nd of July, Zion agreed to a 5-year, $193 million maximum rookie extension, with the New Orleans Pelicans. Could earn him as much as $231 million should he play it out.
All right. I'm not cracking on you when I do this, but I am curious, has anyone been paid so much to play so little?
Well, the thing is, the contract itself is for $193. There's about $50 million more dollars on the table potentially if he plays, right? So it's like, could he do what he's done again?
Yeah,
Sure.
but you're getting paid a lot of money for hoping he's going to play.
You have to, though, right? Like, what's your other option?
I get it, because he goes somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then
And if he turns out to be the
Yeah.
generational talent that people think he still might very well be, even if you trade him away for 5 high-caliber players and 4 picks, even if you got a Rudy Gobert haul for him, if he goes somewhere else to be generational, unless you nail the right 4 players, and keep in mind, because the Jazz got 4 picks back, but they stretched through 2029. That's one thing I haven't gotten in the league in the past is why guys are, and I mean, look, there's not as many rounds in the NBA draft as there are the NFL, obviously. But why are you stockpiling picks through 2029? There's as good of a chance that the guys you got in this Gobert trade are not going to be on the team in 2029. What are you building?
well, you as a Pelicans fan, what does Zion have to do to live up to that big of a contract? Does he have to bring a championship, or do you guys just have to go deep in the playoffs?
I mean, I think that you also have to put it on B.I. Brandon Ingram and Larry Nance and Alvarado and all these other cats that have stepped up to give Zion the foundation to be. Here's the thing. When Zion's played, he's a 26-point-a-game player.
Oh, he's amazing when he
he's
plays.
playing.
I agree.
So if you're the Pels and you sign him for that, you're just hoping you get a 26 points a night player. If you can get 26 and add it on top of, by the way, a Pelicans team that made the playoffs without him this year and gave the Phoenix Suns everything they wanted in the opening round, right? Took them to 6 and probably could have got to 7. That's without Z. If you took that performance and you add 26 a night from Z into that, you got a pretty good basketball club, right? And I think that's what you're banking on if you're the Pels. It is a lot of money for a guy that has not played as much as you'd like. But it's also a guy that in games he's played averages 26, 7, and 3.2 assists per game. Stack that on top of a Pels team that made the playoffs in the West this year. That ain't bad, Jack. That ain't bad. So, the biggest story, obviously, so far is Kevin Durant, right? It's Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn. hours after Kyrie says he wants back in. He wants to run it back. And I got to tell you, I know that KD probably doesn't care. Lonzo, has there been a dude that has gone from so highly praised to criticized based on his own? I'm not talking about guys that came into the league and injuries caused them to fall out, or guys that came into the league and just weren't as good as advertised. I'm talking about guys that came into the league with redonk high expectations and then sabotage themselves. Has there ever been anybody as good at that as Kevin Durant? Because I can't think of him.
He is amazing at it. He's really good at doing that. And I love the rumors of him going back to Golden State.
Not a chance.
I mean, I love those rumors. I hope that happens. I really do. I know that means that they'll be even more dominant and have a shot at winning more championships, but it's just proof of what people think about him, that he cannot lead a team on his own. And there are some people who can't do that. You can't, and maybe you have belief that, oh, I could do that, and you get out there and find out, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm better suited for this.
I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start with, he's not going to the Dubs. And the reason why is the Nets have full leverage in the situation. KD's got every right to ask for a trade and to get traded if he wants to. The Nets are not obligated to trade him, but the Nets also know that since this experiment did not work out, it's a reset. And considering what they just saw Rudy Gobert bring in, right? Which is a core of young players plus Patrick Beverley and a handful of first-round picks, including a couple of probably guaranteed top fives.
Yeah, but you know what you get from Rudy Gobert? You don't get a lot of problems.
Right.
Do you remember him ever being being someone who's talked about because of attitude or anything? I don't remember. So maybe, okay, all right. I forgot about that.
I blame Rudy Gobert for COVID.
I forgot. Okay.
I blame all of it on Rudy Gobert.
All right. That aside, which was a joke on his part, and it turned out pretty bad. But he doesn't have an attitude.
No, you're right. You have a point. However, it is the National Basketball Association. Somebody is going to fork over a Scrooge McDuck-sized vault for Kevin Durant. It's going to happen. But the Nets have the leverage here because KD has 4 years on his contract. So the Nets can afford to hang out, and they can wait, and they're going to get a haul from somebody. It ain't going to be the Warriors. The Warriors don't have a haul to give, right? Because in order to bring KD and pair him with Steph, if Steph, by the way, you think Steph wants KD back? I'm going to go with no.
No.
Not the way they split up.
He didn't need him in the first place.
Right.
He proved he didn't need him again.
The legacy for Steph was KD got you your ring. Well, now Steph went, did he though? Did he though? Or did I do that and KD was with me? Because KD ain't here. But this trophy is, right? I don't think, even if Golden State was interested, if they call Steph and go, yo, do you want Durantula in here? I think Steph goes, no. KD is going to end up with, I'm giving you teams I think he genuinely can end up with. I think he could be paired with Jalen Brunson in New York as a Knick. I think he could be paired with Devin Booker in Phoenix. I think Phoenix got the assets. I think New Orleans could be a for real destination for KD. I'm not saying I want him there. I'm saying it's a real destination is the Pels. Because KD and Zion, if KD's head's on straight, KD Zion could be deadly. Deadly. And CJ McCollum at the point, that could be deadly.
So you're not going to, if he comes to my team, I just won't root for my team
stupid.
that is.
No, that's stupid. That's stupid. It is one thing if a guy is a piece of trash away from the game. I'm not going to get, Kevin Durant is immature. All right? He's immature. Let's call it what it is. But, as I've said many times, A lot of these athletes, especially top-tier guys, they never had to develop maturity because the world just gives them everything they want and then some.
I don't want to say that Kevin Durant is immature. I would like to say his burner accounts are immature. And those have nothing to do with him.
Yeah. Alleged burner accounts. KD's immature. He's never had to grow up. But you got to wonder if the situation with the Nets, which, by the way, everybody is blaming KD for, right? You were supposed to be the leader. You were supposed to be the clubhouse guy. You were supposed to be the guy that took KD and all these other players in that locker room and said, hey, get it together. We are supposed to be a super team, guys. Why aren't we one? But he never did that.
Nah, they ruined that team when they brought in James Harden. It's not KD's fault. It's James Harden.
Well, somebody made that point, right? Which is, even if you are supposed to be a
Who's
leader,
just as bad as KD. Well, I don't want to be here anymore, and he then finds his way somewhere else.
Forces himself out. I agree. It stuns me how many people are still in James Harden's corner. But hey, ain't my life, right? But even after Harden left, the Nets still should have been a good basketball team. Even without him, they still should have been a good team. And instead, Kevin Durant could not be the leader in the locker room that they needed him to be, and the Nets fell the bleep apart. And now he wants out. I have enjoyed the amount of heat that Kevin Durant has been taking from this. Not because I like seeing a dude get boated on. I have enjoyed it because I am genuinely hoping, for Durant's sake, that this is back where I was growing up in the South. Lonzo, my grandmama used to call it a come to Jesus meeting. You ever had a come to Jesus meeting?
Way too often.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just got to have a come to Jesus meeting. I'm hoping that this is Durant's moment where he's got to have one with himself. Where he's got to have one with himself. Where he's got to look down at this and go, you know what? The only place that I have really been successful, the guy that was there with me just did it without me. Maybe I need to get my life together. And I hope he does. I hope he does. Because Kevin Durant could genuinely, honestly go down as one of the best players in the history of the league. And he still will. The dude is a stud. But, my guy, it is falling apart under you again, bro. Again. You've got one more crack at this. I don't know who it's going to be. There is going to be an NBA team. There's going to be an NBA team that is going to open the bank for the Nets. You name your price and we'll send it because KD's that good, right?
Who gets traded first? Who gets a new team first, KD or Baker Mayfield?
I'm gonna go Durant, honestly. I'm gonna go Durant. Baker will have one. It'll be before July 27th. I promise you the Nets got folks on the phone right now for KD. They've got folks on the line for KD right now. 100%. All right. Your thoughts on the NBA free agency. We'll keep an eye on it as it continues to develop moving forward. But I got a few more things to talk about. Continuing the fallout of USC and UCLA making their way to the Big Ten. Ryan McGee threw up an article that said effectively what I said last week. That is to say, we are now in a college football arms race. It is the Big Ten versus the SEC to see who can construct the more dominant Super League. It's not a matter of if, but when. And McGee made a couple of good points. We're going to analyze those and how they stack up for Clemson and South Carolina, as well as the rest of the ACC. And that's coming up next. I'm Rob Brown. He's the great Malonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Playmaking tacos. Yeah, I blame Rudy Gobert for COVID entirely. If Rudy doesn't touch those mics, we don't get locked down. Did anyone ever see Kevin Durant's movie Thunderstruck? I didn't. I wonder if that movie had an indication he was leading man material. Kevin Durant had a movie? Or are you messing with me? As people on the stream are wont to do. This is a real thing. Thunderstruck is a 2012 American sports family comedy film directed by John Whitesell and starring professional NBA player Kevin Durant and Taylor Gray, as well as Brandon T. Jackson, Doc Shaw, and Jim Belushi, because why not? The plot follows a boy who magically gets Durant's basketball skills, and the duo must figure out how to return them. We all know how to return them. You have to defeat a team of aliens in a basketball game with Bugs Bunny as your teammate.
Oh, please park that way. Please park that way.
I'm not even going to turn around and look.
No, you should look.
No, I can't. I'm having a good day.
You should look. It's right there.
No, I'm having a good day.
It's really big. You can probably see it from where you are.
I'm not going to let some jerk ruin it.
I don't think it counts if they're still in the vehicle.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Yep, we use diversified strategies to position our clients.
Diversify your portfolio.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolio.
At first, I thought it was an Escalade, but I'm not quite sure. What kind of vehicle is that?
No, Lonzo. It's good effort. I appreciate the attempt there. It was a good effort. Your shenanigans will not work on me. They totally would.
I'm gonna say I can just take a picture of it and send it to you. You'll see it like 3 days from now, but you'll see it eventually. I don't know if you were on text, but Diesel will be in today.
Switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Just send us a text a couple minutes ago.
Said he's in today?
Yeah,
Where was he?
he'll be here. You never look at your text.
I didn't get a group text.
I thought you were in the text
No.
from yesterday.
No.
He was in an accident.
Oh, no. I was not in that text. I literally did not know that.
I guess it doesn't directly affect you, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I got nothing from that.
I just thought you didn't respond because you were at the game and
No,
didn't see it.
no, I absolutely would have responded to that. I'm a jerk, but I'm not a jerk.
Doesn't look this bad. Doesn't look that bad, but
Nah, it's still.
keep
still
forgetting
sucks.
there's no glass there. Like, make sure I don't hit the glass. It wouldn't have directly affected you, but
Well, no, I mean, I could have made my way back if I needed help. All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. He's the great one, Lonzo. You guys know I'm a big Ryan McGee guy. Love McGee. McGee's a super dude, super writer, super sports personality, and a super guy. He put up an article Saturday? I'm going to say Saturday. About the college football expansion. And he opened it with, the British fleet had the Spanish Armada. The United States had the Soviet Union. The Beatles had the Rolling Stones. And now the SEC has the Big Ten. Love it. That's the best group of rivals that you can come up with. Anyway, he talks about the expansion of the Big Ten and the SEC. And he says, quote, there are only 2 players in a chess match, and apologies for the cliche, but there are only two true chess masters in today's collegiate athletics. 2 superpowers with the fanciest playing pieces, specifically Oklahoma and Texas, and now UCLA and USC. The rest are playing checkers. They might have some nice pieces here and there, but they don't have a whole set. Only the Big Ten and the SEC do. And that's it. But here's the thing. I read that, and I can't take credit for this cliche. I had the thought of it, but McGee immediately ran to it in his very next paragraph before I could be like, oh, I got a point for Ryan. I got a point I can go ahead and send over to Mr. McGee on this one. The correct game to compare this to is not chess or checkers, Lonzo. You know what the correct game to compare this to is?
Risk.
Risk. It's exactly what my thought was.
Taking over the board,
Yep.
taking over the world,
Yep.
technically.
For those of you that don't remember Risk, you play Risk with the fam?
I played a couple of different versions. There's the Lord of the Rings Risk, which is
Oh,
really
don't
cool.
hate that.
Yeah.
Don't hate that.
The ring is moving towards Mount Doom the whole time you're trying to
Oh,
take
nice.
stuff over. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Don't hate that. I loved Risk as a kid. My Uncle Michael and I used to play games of Risk, Lonzo, that would last months at a time. Months at a time. And like we would have to, whenever, like, he lived in New Orleans, I lived in Florida, we'd have to, like, this is flash photography days, but we'd like take pictures of the board and write down what pieces were where. And next time he came in town or we went there, we'd crack the game open again. And these games will go on for months. But if you've never played Risk, first off, congratulations on your stress-free environment growing up.
We played at the auto parts warehouse where I worked before I came to South Carolina. We left it set up in the lunchroom.
Yeah,
Each day we'd come in
and play a little
during
while.
lunch we would play.
because those
some.
games
Yeah.
can go on forever. And they can be exasperating, as I'm sure that they are. The concept of Risk is everybody starts with a country, and you get new troops per round based on how much territory you have, right? Once you start acquiring territory, you start getting more troops to utilize. And you move those troops around the board, and you go head-to-head with other countries, troops v. troops, rolling dice, until you eliminate theirs and you take the country. And then once you take that country, the next time it's your turn, you get however many troops that country produces added to that country to then move out, right? That's what we're doing with conferences now. Except for there's only 2 players on the board that matter. There's not much more frustrating in that game than when one guy playing the game has the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and the other guy has China and Russia and India, and they're getting 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 new troops per round, and you owned Chile, and you get 1 new troop per round. And all you do is you sit there and you go, my turn, and you put your 1 piece on the board. And then you go, that's my turn. And you wait. And you hope that the two of them get into a superpower shootout that depletes them while you just sit in the corner and stockpile resources. Here's the problem. Every time a USC or a UCLA get added into the mix for a B1G, every time a Texas or an Oklahoma get added into the SEC, they bring with them their new round of troops. They bring with them the pieces that they add to the board every round. And if you are the ACC, you have Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, right? Now, on Friday when we talked about this, the question that I got the most was, Rob, why would the B1G add USC and UCLA, two teams that have not been relevant in a very long time? And the answer that I gave, and will give you again here, is because this was not about adding teams that are good football teams. This was about adding teams that bring ginormous markets into play. Los Angeles is the #1 television market in the United States. They are market #1. When it comes to number of TV sets and people watching, it is always either New York or LA. Always. Chicago is always in that mix. Philly's in that mix, etc. But it is always either New York or LA. Now, LA is more important than New York, because here is one ugly fact. We talked a little bit about, actually, I don't think I brought this up on Friday. LA is more important than New York. New York actually may have more people watching TV. It may be a bigger TV market. But LA matters more. Why? Because despite the fact that they aren't good and haven't been good for some time, at least there are ties to college football in LA with USC and UCLA and Cal. There are ties to history in college football. New York doesn't really have that. When I say New York, what college football team even comes to mind? Right? Honestly, if I say New York in college football, what team comes to mind? There's not one. Rutgers in New Jersey? Like, what team comes to mind? So New York is I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but I will tell you one thing. Zach says Syracuse.
Yeah,
okay,
but that's in the ACC.
But
so
it's in the ACC.
yeah.
But here's the thing. It's also not New York City. That's a New York State team, right? When we talk TV markets, the city is where it's at. LA is at, you know what the thing that blew me away about New York when I visited there last year? It's not that big. It's really not that big. We went from the north side of New York City to the south side of New York City in like one 15-minute Uber ride, right? It's not that big. So it's really not all that relevant in this discussion.
I was going to say, I've been across New York in Spider-Man, so it
Yeah.
didn't appear to be that big. And those games, poo-poo it all you want, are fairly accurate.
Peter and Miles can get across the entire city in a matter of minutes, right? So the point of this is that LA is an enormous market, and they have got two legacy programs in USC and UCLA. The SEC carved out the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma, which as giant swaths are important markets in the college football world. The difference between Oklahoma and Texas is what? Texas and Oklahoma both bring legacy territories that truly passionately care about college football. LA is not a place that truly passionately cares about college football like Texas and Oklahoma. But even though there's a smaller percentage of fans who care, it's so much more densely populated as a market that the numbers will probably work out to be pretty similar. And at the end of the day, does the Big Ten care if they get passionate fans? Or do they care that they get fans who will put it on the TV? The second one. The second one. It's all they care about. Because as I pointed out, The Pac-10, the SEC, they don't get paid money because you bought tickets. It's nice. It's nice to have packed stadiums. It certainly looks better on TV. And if it looks better on TV, they achieve their actual goal, which is what? Butts on couches, watching TV, and pumping up the ratings. So that the next time that they negotiate their television rights, they can go, we got this many people watching. LA, though, has like roughly 5% of every television watcher in this country. The only city that has more as a market is New York. New York City has like 5.5 or 6%, depending on what year you look at. New York gets about 6% of all TVs in the country. LA gets like 5.2, 5 something percent. 1 out of every 20 televisions is in the LA market. It's some ridiculous number. It may not be quite that. It's like 1 out of 20. 1 out of 20. 1 out of every 20 TVs is in the LA market. So, one thing that's going to be interesting is to see what happens with Clemson and Florida State. I honestly believe, Lonzo, that Clemson and FSU both end up in the Big Ten, not the Southeastern Conference. And I believe that for one reason. If the SEC wanted Clemson and Florida State, they'd have made that move. But they didn't make that move. They didn't make that move because they already control the TVs in those regions, right? Like FSU has Tallahassee, but it is surrounded by Florida, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, right? The SEC picking up Tallahassee doesn't do all that much. The SEC picking up Clemson doesn't do all that much because Clemson is surrounded by South Carolina, by Georgia, by Auburn, by Alabama. So by taking Clemson into the SEC, what do you add to the TV numbers? Nothing. You add Clemson. And you add Greenville, maybe, kinda.
There will be a time, though, when it's more about adding a team so the other doesn't.
Sure. The best thing that would come from the SEC adding Florida State or Clemson is not letting the Big Ten establish a foothold in SEC territory on TV. But if you're the B16 right now, there are 4 schools that I think you want your eyeballs on, right? From south to north, the schools you're going to watch the B16, I genuinely believe will watch them attack, Lonzo. Miami, FSU, Clemson, and North Carolina. Miami because you control South Florida. Florida State because you get a foothold in the dead center of SEC territory. Clemson because you get a powerhouse and you get a foothold in the northern part of the SEC territory. And North Carolina because it establishes an unbroken chain down the Atlantic seaboard, and you add North Carolina into your basketball rotation as well, right? North Carolina is we think, up-and-coming football program, but you get to add the Tar Heels into the Big Ten, and now the Big Ten basketball conference looks every bit as good as the ACC's did. So you're adding FSU, a potential tournament team in basketball, a legacy team in football. You're adding Miami, a legacy team in football, and an up-and-coming basketball powerhouse under Larranaga. You add Clemson, a current football powerhouse, and if they do it right, eventually we'll get back to basketball prominence. And you add a legacy basketball team in North Carolina and an up-and-coming football team. Those squads make perfect sense for the Big Ten because it gives the Big Ten a nice little lightning bolt right into the heart of SEC territory, and they get to take some TVs with them, which is all this is about.
There's a couple of reasons why I'd love to see this happen. North Carolina, I have some friends who are North Carolina fans. Be curious what they think about that. But I think the Clemson fans will really, really have a hard time if Clemson leaves ACC.
I mean,
Especially if I'm curious, since we seem to have some Clemson fans who listen, which would you rather? Would you rather Clemson be in the SEC or the Big Ten? And I think they're going to say SEC. If they're in the Big Ten, there seems to be a lot of disdain for the Big Ten. Some of the fans will be really upset. Again, it doesn't matter if the fans are upset or not.
Are they
but some
going
of
to
them will
stop
be
watching? Because if they're not, it doesn't matter. Again, it's nice to go, oh, you know, college football has always been about the fans and the traditions. But no, I mean, yes, it has. But that's because up until a handful of years ago, you gave your money straight to the colleges, and that's how they got it. Having $1 million boosters is super to duper. It's fantastic. But television rights deals, that's where the money is in college football. The Big Ten does not care if they make Lonzo the Buckeye fan happy. And they don't care if they make Jimbo the SEC fan or Billy Bob the South Carolina fan or Hank the Clemson fan. They don't care if they make y'all happy.
Well, they should make me happy, because if those teams come into the Big Ten, then Lonzo's voice gets bigger when it comes to the Big Ten. That's all I'm saying.
Lonzo's eyes lit up a little bit there. TV rights deals is where the money is. So I would look at Miami. I would look at Florida State. I would look at Clemson. And I would look at North Carolina. Adam pops in and says, what about Va Tech? I could see Va Tech being a target too. Va Tech, though, I would consider Va Tech an SEC target as well. There's going to be a couple of schools that, while they may not be necessarily legacy football programs, there's a few schools that I think you'll see some combat over from these two, right? And I think Virginia Tech could very well be one of them. All right, what are your thoughts? 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. 844-FAN phone, FANFONE. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Texture says, what about the possibility of the SEC and ACC merging? I'll address that when we come back. I'm Rob Lonzo, and this is the Fan Upstate.
I'm Jason Marks with your sports flash on the Fan Upstate. In Major League Baseball, after a 2.5-hour rain delay at Truist Park, Dansby Swanson 3-run double would be the difference for the Atlanta Braves as they go on to beat the St. Louis Cardinals 6-3. In the NBA, the New Orleans Pelicans agreed to a designated rookie maximum
All right. Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Texter says, what about the possibility of the SEC and the ACC merging? I think it's more a la carte at this point, right? I think it's more a la carte. The ACC might very well go for that, right? The ACC might, hey, yeah, absolutely. Why? Because remember, the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and certainly the smaller conferences, the Mountain West, the All-American Conference, they're all fighting for survival. This is not, all right, well, sucks we lost USC and UCLA. Who do we pick up? You don't replace them, guys. You just lost. If you're the Pac-12, you just lost, for the most part, LA as a market. You just lost the biggest market. This is not going to be about how do we get good football. This is going to be about how the hell do we survive this new world of college football? How do we survive? How are we viable here? And the answer is, I don't know if they can or if they are. So you're at the point now where, we talked about, we compared it to a game of Risk a minute ago. You're kind of at the point now where the Big 12 has Canada, the United States, and Mexico. The Big 10 has Russia, China, and India. And basically, there's a bunch of little one army countries between here and there, and they get to pick up whichever ones they want as they go. The SEC, I don't think, benefits from Florida State. They don't benefit from Clemson. The only ACC school that I mentioned that they would benefit from, I think, would be Miami, right? You basically cap off Florida as an SEC state if you pick up Miami. You don't benefit from FSU. You don't benefit from Clemson, at least all that much, I don't think. So I don't know that an ACC merger makes sense. Now, maybe it makes sense if you could add Virginia or Virginia Tech, Duke or North Carolina, right? Maybe Cuse. But the other part of this is, and this is the part that's really interesting to me as well. I don't think I brought this up yet. The other part is having big network or having big markets is great, but those markets got to tune in to watch, right? Having 1 million TV sets with access to college football is kind of irrelevant if you only got 5,000 people watching it. New York doesn't care about college football. California produces as much college talent as any other market, but California doesn't care about college football, at least not the way that Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana and Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina do, right? It's just that LA has so many damn people that it's still worth it. But the ACC, the SEC really doesn't have an innate need or desire to merge with the ACC. If you're the ACC, you want them to. If you work for the ACC, so maybe you can talk them into keeping your job. And B, so that all the schools in the ACC can keep playing each other. But again, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, you're going to lose some conference rivals, right? If you're Clemson, you might very well lose Virginia Tech as a rival. Does it bother you all that much? Like, is that the end of college football for you? I don't know. Maybe it is to some people. It's not to me. But you're at a point now where the Big Ten and the SEC, they don't need to merge with anybody. It's pretty much a la carte at this point, right? Because here's the thing. If the ACC wants to merge with the SEC and the SEC says no, but the SEC comes to Graham Neff, to Clemson, and says, we thought about it, we want you in the SEC, and this is the amount of money you're going to get every year for being a Southeastern Conference member, and it doubles the revenue that they get out of the ACC, and Clemson knows that the ACC is about to get raided by the Big Ten too, guys, they're gone in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And it's self-preservation as much as it is anything else. because going, not SEC, we're good. We're going to stay in the ACC. Well, that would work if FSU and Miami and Virginia Tech and Virginia and Pitt and Syracuse and Notre Dame and all these other schools that play in the ACC were to band together and go, yeah, we're going to stick together. We're going to stick this thing out. We're going to make the ACC viable. But again, if any one of those schools catches an offer for twice the revenue that they make on an annual to move over to the SEC, all it takes is one to fall apart. And remember, not too long ago, the Pac-12 and the ACC and the Big 12 made the alliance. Remember the alliance we all talked about for a while? Yeah, how'd that go? How'd that go? How's that working out for you? It is Game of Thrones, my guys.
Got to be rough if you're Clemson, though, because if you stay in the ACC, for the most part, you're going to be dominant. You got a sure line to be in the playoff. But if you take the money and go to the SEC, that's no longer a guarantee. But you may not have a choice.
In the ACC, Clemson has gone to a handful of national championships in the last 7 years. So, 5, 6, 7% chance of going to the playoffs while you're a powerhouse, by the way, because if you're Graham Neff, you've also got to think what happens when Dabo's time is done, either as an elite coach or if he moves to Alabama or if he retires. At some point, you're going to come back to the rest of the pack. You'll still be making SEC money if you move over while you're not necessarily winning championships. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's Texas says, I'd rather see FSU and Miami live up to expectations and give us 3 powers where the SEC has 2 and the Big Ten has 1 in Ohio State. I mean, yeah. But if you're that school, how do you rise to power? You got to have lots of money. How do you get it? You join the Big Ten or SEC. This is Game of Thrones, but everybody is Littlefinger. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I saw that. That's hilarious.
The
Simpsons.
The Simpsons thing, that is just the fight between him and Ned.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How do you go Ned and not Mr. Burns there, though? But
Ned makes it funnier.
if you're telling me right now that I can mod God of War into Homer and a baseball bat,
All right, let's see if I can count this hour.
that was a quick hour, y'all.
It was very quick.
That was a quick hour.
Hey, you know what day it is?
Oh my goodness, it's Tuesday. I kept thinking it was Monday. I was sitting here like I can't wait till Faces and Heels tomorrow. But I don't have to wait.
So I downloaded a game on Game Pass for a computer called Medieval something. I can't remember what the rest of it is. And it's basically your parents are killed. You're 18 years old. You go to where your uncle lives, where it's away from the war.
Okay.
The guy who's over the whole place says, pick out a place, build you a house, make it into a town if you want. It's all in first person, by the way.
Okay.
And it is beautiful. Problem is, I got killed by pigs last night.
You got
because pigs are my nemesis in every video game I've ever played in my entire life.
what a
They're boars, but still, they're still pigs. Yeah, I got gored, and I can't figure out how to heal myself. And although you can turn it off, and I don't want to do that, it's got one of those things where you have to eat and drink.
yeah.
And I hate those games because that makes it too real. And I'd rather, I shouldn't have to eat for 4 days and be okay. But
You get like fatigued or whatever. What is it? They did that with one of the Grand Theft Auto games where you had to eat and drink within the game, or your character would start to lose muscle and start to lose power and strength. It's quite annoying.
yeah, I don't. And again, I can fix it where, and I like the game enough that I might fix it where it doesn't do that.
Right.
But you can go by seasons, and summer is kind of rough for me. You can make it so you progress to be able to make. Right now, I can make stone tools, even though it's not, that age.
Right.
You still have to use what you have, and then you start unlocking things to the point where I found a wandering lady who just wanted to live in a town, and I went and said, okay,
Got your back.
but I don't have a town. I just have a house, and I can't make her live in my house. So she's just walking up and down the roads. It's another game that's pretty cool, but
Medieval hobos.
it doesn't exactly tell you how to do stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm constantly going back to controls to figure out how do I get to that thing to make stuff? How do I get to this thing? And it's also there's a mod out, and I don't know if it'll make its way to console where you can play multiplayer on Skyrim,
Don't hate that.
including all dialogue, everything.
Don't hate that at all.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Okay, what's your name? All right, hang on. They're also supposed to add in PvP eventually.
Skyrim?
Yes.
So bad. By Skyrim, I mean every game.
COVID-19 restrictions may be lifting, but people are still getting sick. If you test positive, you can help by taking part in research from the comfort of home. Learn more at active6study.org/radio. That's activ6study.org/radio.
Yeah. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to be back, refreshed after a long 3-day weekend. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me, the Wizard of Ways, the Professor of Perfection. He is the great Walonzo. You're welcome to be a part of the show as well by calling 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE, 844-FAN-PHONE. It's 844-326-3663. You can also text us at 71307 on the preferred home services text line. 71307. Start the body of your text with the word FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air throughout the show. We got some more stuff to get into, but Jason has been kind enough to call in and hang with us through the break, so he goes next. Jason, welcome in, big fella. Good to have you.
Hey, appreciate you. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely, partner.
Sure. Hey, you sound refreshed. Hey, you talk about the. First of all, I thought I saw a tweet of you. Were you in Cincinnati for the Braves Reds, or did I misread that?
No, I was in Atlanta yesterday for the Braves Cardinals.
okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
4
did you
innings
see
of
those
action
games?
before the Lightning decided it was time to get on the road
yeah.
back to Greenville.
Oh yeah. I was wondering. I think we'll have a repeat of 1985 when you had the 18 inning,
Yeah.
whatever game with Rick Camp home run game. I was
Yeah,
wondering,
we were. As a matter of fact, I was
yeah.
listening. I was listening yesterday on the way back because they restarted the game at like 11:30 last night, and so I was in the car on the way back, and they were. I don't remember who it was that was on the call, but they were doing like a a rain delay show. And the guy was talking about the Rip Camp home run, and he's like, that might be the second most famous home run in Braves history behind Hank's. But they replayed a little bit of audio from that. It was really, I'll tell you this real quick, and I know it's not why you called, Jason, but I got to bring this up. I was driving home, and they played an interview done back in 2000 with Joe DiMaggio's brother, Dominic DiMaggio. Who played center field for the Giants, I believe, while Joe was with the Yankees. And it was one of the most entertaining things I've ever heard. It's on I'm going to promote somebody else's podcast here. It's a podcast called Hardball, and it's a guy out of Atlanta named Chris Domino, I think his name was. But he interviews all these old players. Like he did like a 30-minute interview with Greg Maddux, which was also played during the rain delay, which was amazing. But he played an interview with Dom DiMaggio, and I was absolutely enamored with it. Yeah, so if you get a chance to go listen to that, if you're a baseball history fan, this podcast is incredible.
Okay, sounds fun. Hey, but you know about conference realignment. It's going to be interesting to see if could the FCC went to 18 or 20, because these other conferences teams are going to be leaving, and I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see if the ACC is still around. I guess they could add maybe Notre Dame, and if you add one more, maybe you're doing okay. I don't know. But if I'm the SEC, you talk about Miami. That's a no-brainer. That's that would be team number 17. Adding South Florida, a whole new dynamic of a fan. South Florida, that area is really almost kind of like its own state, compared to the rest of the state. Even Miami. They call the state of Miami. Howard Schnellenberger called that when he built Miami. But one more, if you had to add one more, I think North Carolina. I think that makes a lot of sense. But if you go to 20. And North Carolina said, well, they have to add Duke. Would you add Duke for basketball? You're up to 19. And then one more, I guess, you go Florida State or Virginia Tech. I know if I'm Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, those three, and Clemson, we not play Clemson in football. I'm a Tennessee fan, but they have to kick their rear ends in recruiting. It's over the last decade. That's really the rise of Clemson is one of the reasons Tennessee has fallen. They've got a lot of players we would have got, a few years, years before if it wasn't for Clemson. No excuse. Just credit to Clemson. I'd kind of blackball them. Maybe I'm being a little selfish there, but that's just kind of my take on that. Would the SEC add Duke if North Carolina said we'll leave but we have to take Duke?
You got it, Jason. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for checking in. You're welcome to as well on the phone lines at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. If the SEC decided to go into the Carolinas, I think North Carolina's the pick, right? Because you're looking for both markets you can put your footprint in that maybe you don't have right now, and obviously you want the best sports programs you can get in the same time, right? Now, the preference is going to be on market size. And the preference is going to be on tapping a new market. But you're also wanting the best programs you can get within that. And with all due respect to Duke and Carolina, Zoe, stop me when I'm wrong. Duke and Carolina are pretty much equals as far as basketball goes. But North Carolina is a better football program.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the way to go.
Especially lately, North Carolina has been on the edge of doing something pretty
Sure.
good.
Now, North Carolina may very well ask the Big Ten or the SEC, because I think they are one of the teams that is going to be, they are going to be the teams that are, or the conference that I think makes the push for the Carolinas, although the SEC will probably contend with that. If you're Duke, I suspect whoever asks you to join, you're asking Carolina to come with you, right? Because while it may not be the deal breaker, because you can still schedule non-conference matchups, right? If you're Duke and the Big Ten comes a call and you go, we want in, but we'd like, or if you're Carolina, we want in, but we'd like Duke to come with us. We'd like to keep Duke on the schedule. But even if they say no, the amount of money you're going to get out of your new conference and the ability to still schedule Carolina at your whim, right? North Carolina and Duke can still schedule each other on the football field, and they can absolutely still schedule each other in the non-conference basketball schedule. Now, you might not love that it's non-conference. You might not love that Duke and Carolina play a 2-game set. Let's say they sign on every year, 2-game set in basketball. Once in Chapel Hill, once in Duke, once in Durham. And both of those games take place in the first 4 weeks of the basketball season. Of course, you're not going to love it, but you're still getting Duke, Carolina, right? Unless you get one of the two conferences to go, okay, we'll take you both. But again, when it comes down to it, and this is the part, like I said, this is the part that I understand Mark Ryan and Diesel and Lonzo, because I think I'm pretty much alone in this, hey, I'm good with everything that's happening camp. I know Mark's not. I know Zoe's not. I'm pretty sure Diesel's not. I think I'm the only one on the station that's good with everything that's happening, or at least not in a state of college football existentialism.
Here's the thing about it, though. The three of us are in solidarity, and you are an island
I'm
unto
the lone
yourself.
wolf, baby.
But when
I'm
it
the renegade.
when it comes down to it, no matter how much you complain
Yeah,
or you
it
kick
doesn't
a
matter.
scream, nothing we say or do is going to
Yep.
change it. So it comes down to if and when it happens, how quickly do we accept it?
Yep. You will get used to it, or you won't be fans anymore. And let's be real. I don't think of the four of us, I don't think any of us is walking away from college football. We may not like the product that it has become, and by we, I mean them, Lonzo, Diesel, and Mark.
We will
But ain't
take
none of y'all
every-
walking away from it.
We'll take every advantage of trying to destroy it, making fun of it, but we'll still
Sure.
be watching. Yes.
Absolutely. Don't let Diesel fool you. He's still going to be parked watching Appy State. Don't let Zoe fool you. He's going to come in here on Mondays during football season with a breakdown of the Big Ten. Don't let Mark Ryan fool you. He's going to be gator chomping in his jorts in front of the TV on Saturdays. All right? Don't let him fool you.
Wow, bird legs just comes to mind when you say that. I don't know why.
So, again, the SEC is going to look at the Carolinas, as is the Big Ten, and it might very well be that Duke goes to one and Carolina goes to the other, right? Whoever can get their talons in Carolina first and offer them the best deal, the other one takes Duke. The schools that I feel bad for all, because I do feel bad for some situations. Here's the schools I feel bad for. Wake Forest. NC State. Right? USF. UCF. Because at the end of the day, while these two conferences, the SEC and the B1G, while they are rapidly approaching super conference status, and they are, while they rapidly approach super conference status, there is a cap for now on how many teams they will take in. My suspicion is that cap's probably set about 20 to 24 tops.
So the question is, the teams that are left over, what do? Do they stop playing football?
What do they do?
Or are they a conference unto themselves? Do they form a third
That's a great
conference?
question.
Will there be enough to form a third conference?
And that's it. I think you're going to end up with two super mega conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten. And that is going to have all the legacy programs and then a couple of North Carolinas tossed in because of the TV market deal, right? And I'd be interested to see, would one of these two conferences take Syracuse for the sake of having a hook in the New York market for whatever that's worth? But you're going to have 2 super conferences with a majority of the legacy programs and a couple of not legacy programs, but programs that are anchors in major markets, right? And then I think you're going to end up, Zoe, with a 3rd national conference of everybody who's not picked up by the 2 super conferences, right? You know Florida State's going to end up somewhere. You know Clemson's going to end up somewhere. Those are nationally appealing programs. What about UCF? What about USF? What about NC State? What about Wake Forest? What about those teams that are left behind in the Pac-12? Oregon's going to get picked up, right? Oregon and Oregon State likely both, probably split down the line. And this is all hypothetically down the line. But what about Utah State, right? What about San Diego State in the Pac-12? I think you ultimately end up with another super conference that is a national conference, a huge conference made up of whoever's left over when the SEC and Big Ten hit their saturation point and go, we're good for now. We're filled up. We're good right now.
Do they have a place at the table for the national championship, though?
Great question. Great question. Because the other aspect of this is, do the SEC and the Big Ten, when they hit their saturation point, when they hit their part where they go, we don't want to add anybody else, do they call each other and go, your champ plays our champ, winner is the national champ, right? Our playoffs are our super conference playoff games, right? We take the top 2 over here, top 2 over here. They play each other. Winner of both conferences moves on to a national championship game. To hell with San Diego State, Cincinnati, and USF.
I doubt it would be a top 2 thing for.
And they might go 4 on each other.
Yeah, probably.
They might go 4. The point of all this is, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know how these guys are going to work this whole thing out. We don't know how these conferences are going to dictate their champions. If they will go to hell with what the NCAA wants. We're going to do our own national championship. And we don't know what comes of all of that. But again, there is a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts. And it's, to me, it's kind of entertaining, right? It's kind of entertaining that we don't know what the next step is and where this ends up. It's interesting. Let's take a break. When we come back, Lonzo's favorite segment of the week, so much that he reminded me that today's Tuesday so we can do it. It's Faces and Heels, and it's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
One bad part about being the memory of the show is sometimes you have to remember things that you don't like, but, you know, professional and all that sort of thing.
Like a slider?
The trajectory was good. The bank.
Ooh.
I just think I could hit that corner if I could do it perfect. Ooh, almost did it with both of those. Got the big one. Get this one. Oh, so close.
Dayton B100 V-Belt, one of the many parts Grainger carries. It's also the item that helped Rob carry the day. The job was on hold, deadline fast approaching, but a quick search on Grainger.com and Rob found his part. On the same-day pickup at his local branch, he and his crew got the job done, safely and on time. Get supplies and solutions for every industry with real-time product availability. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're speaking another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just
Trey, I could take out the pigs and Angry Birds, but only so far. I mean, you know.
Babbel. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
But that's really just about science. It's about angles and things. The pigs can't directly attack you like they can in Far Cry and other games like that. As I've just proven, I'm pretty good with angles if I do it right. On and off the air.
It is time for Lonzo's favorite segment of the week. It is time for Faces and Heels, where we take some socially ambiguous situations and try to figure out who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. It's time for Faces and Heels. And we start, ladies and gentlemen, with this one. We've got a young man here, about 24 years old. Says that he is unfortunately he's in poor health and he's got a shunt in his head. It's effectively a little device that drains the spinal fluid and prevents fluid from building up, putting pressure on his head and creating a bunch of pain. He says, I got one at age 2. It gave out at 15. I got another one at 15. I'm 23 and my shunt just gave out on me. But unfortunately, we didn't recognize it before some fluid built up, so I had to go to the ICU. He said the first time it didn't work. I had to go back again to have it taken out, put in another one. They had to go back in a third time and tweak it to get it right. Well, this time they decided, since we've had problems, we want to keep you here in the ICU for about a week and a half, 2 weeks under observation, because they had to run a tube into the back of my guy's head. The tube was to keep an eye on the shunt. If it stops to work, they can pop this tube and drain the excess fluid while they fix the shunt. Anyway, my man said he was in the hospital ultimately for 3 weeks in the ICU with this tube connected to the inside of his skull. He said, I had family come in, I had friends come in, but my girlfriend of a year and a half only called and texted. She never showed up in the hospital. He said, I called her towards the end of the visit and was like, why didn't you come see me? And she said, because I was scared, I couldn't bring myself to see you with tubes and machinery hooked up to you. It just made me too uncomfortable to come into the hospital. Said that she had an anxiety issue with hospitals and that she couldn't stand to see her boo hooked up to all these life-saving devices in a hospital. She said, I knew you were going to be fine. I knew you were going to get it out. I had faith that you were going to come out of the hospital fine, and I was going to be waiting for you with cake and ice cream and celebrations. That's why I didn't come to the hospital. He said, well then, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, and dumped her because she didn't come to the hospital. Is he the face? Actually, let's go with the girlfriend. Face or heel for not showing up to the hospital to support her significant other of a year and a half?
Out of all the, however long we've been doing this, 2 years?
Yep.
We've been doing this a long time. This is the hardest one that you've had. Yeah, this is the most difficult one, because if you put it on him, well, you're dogging a guy who's, in the hospital. But I understand that anxiety. I absolutely do. And I get where she's coming from about being, if she comes to visit and all she does is cry, and all she does is I don't want to say make a scene, but is unable to function while they're seeing him like that, what benefit is that for him? Because you're trying to get through a situation, and then you're looking over there and you're seeing someone reminding you how bad of a situation it truly is. That can dampen your spirits. So I cannot make her a heel. I cannot.
Here's what I'll say. I very much understand the concept of anxiety. I hate hospitals. I hate them. They make me uncomfortable. I don't like them. All right? I've never liked them. That being said, if somebody loves in the hospital and they are telling you that support helps, I genuinely believe that being surrounded by positivity can help your body fight whatever fight it's going through, right? I really honestly believe that. Now, if you genuinely have I know people with crippling anxiety. And if you genuinely have crippling anxiety brought on by the hospital, then I understand that. But you got to say that, right? You got to say, before it even comes up, hey, just FYI, I have I cannot function in a hospital. Now, I also know that's 1% of people, maybe, have a genuine crippling. If you just don't like the hospital, I just don't like the hospital. I can go to one, I can function. My dad was in and out of hospitals for years when he was going through his health stuff. I don't like them. They make me uncomfortable. There is something about walking down a long hallway of dark rooms with people coughing and hacking up lungs in them. It's uncomfortable. But I also knew my dad needed me to come and be positive in that room, so I did that, right? If she genuinely has a crippling anxiety at the hospital, she's not. But if she's just uncomfortable, if she's just I just don't like hospitals, they're icky, you're absolutely a heel. Absolutely a heel. My man needs to be surrounded by positivity in that moment, and you decided you being uncomfortable was worse than my guy with a tube running into the back of his dome. Nah, she's the mega heel unless it is crippling anxiety, and I feel like if she has that and he just didn't mention it, then he's the heel. I feel like that's something he would have thrown in there. She told me she has crippling anxiety in hospitals, but I still needed her. In which case, I'd be like, all right, dude, I get it, but no. But he can bring that up. I'm going to work under the assumption she doesn't, and therefore she's the heel.
And I'm going to work under the assumption that she does.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. 22-year-old guy has a 22-year-old roommate. They've been roommates for about a year now. They've been friends for well over 10 years. Said that when they moved in together, the first guy, the guy telling this story, brought his cat. His cat is 10 years old, has been with him for 10 years, says this cat's my shadow. We eat at the same time. We watch movies at the same time. The cat is always around me. Like, this is my best friend. Says, our place only allows one cat or dog per unit. I asked my new roommate if he was okay with me bringing the cat. He said that's fine, and he didn't have any pets. I paid the full $350 deposit plus $25 extra pet rent, because that's a thing that people do now. Anyway, says, about a month ago, I came home to a new cat. My roommate had found her and taken her in. Two problems. Number one, our apartment management comes down very hard on people who break the rules. And number two, my cat hated the new cat. They were fighting, they were fussing, they were screaming, they were yelling at each other, because that's what cats do, because they're annoying. And they just did not get along. I kept asking him, when are you going to take the cat to a shelter to get the cat adopted out? And he kept putting it off. And one day he came to me and said, I've decided to keep the cat. We'll just have to figure out how to make it work with these two cats. Said the two cats were fighting. The two cats were getting after it. Said, I'm going to keep the cat. She was a stray. I don't have the heart to put her up for adoption. Is Brett the good guy or the bad guy? I'll start on this one. Dude, you can't keep that cat. You can't keep that cat. I know, trust me, I am a bleeding heart when it comes to pets. I don't even like cats. I'm a bleeding heart when it comes to pets, cats included. I understand. I would be heartbroken if I found this little runt, this little stray, took it in, nursed it to health, and then just had to put it in a shelter. But the other cat was there first. The other cat has been there for a decade. The other cat had claim to the apartment. It sucks, the one cat rule, and it sucks that those cats don't get along. But the cat who was there first, it is a 10-year apartment, a 10-year partner of the person in the apartment, gets dominion over that. That other, you can work your butt off to find it somebody, to put it on social media, to worst case scenario, take it to a shelter, but you can't keep that cat. That cat's got to go.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything such thing as cat couples therapy. So you're probably not going to be able to work the things out between the two. The other cat was there first. Squatters rights.
Squatters rights.
That's how that goes.
Squatters rights. Yeah, the other guy's the heel.
And the thing is, you saw the stray out there and brought the stray home. You knew this was going to be a situation. That makes you the heel.
Texter says in the hospital one, he is the heel. Anxiety is a real thing and cannot be taken lightly. She supported him from afar with plans to support him further upon his return home, end quote. You know, listen, again, as I said, I know anxiety is a real thing. I have people very close to me in my life who deal with not just anxiety, but like can't function anxiety. I know it's a thing. I know it's a real thing. Thing is, that was never, and again, he might be the heel in not mentioning that she has genuine anxiety. But there is a difference between anxiety and I don't like this thing, right? There's a difference between I don't want to do this thing and I have a genuine anxiety. There's a big difference. And it sounds to me like she was utilizing anxiety as an excuse for I just don't like I don't want to see you in the hospital. I promise you, my guy with the hose in the back of his skull doesn't want to see a hose in the back of his skull less than you don't want to see him with it. All right? So, all right, one more. 31-year-old woman has been dating her 37-year-old boyfriend for a year-ish. Says he has 3 kids, is a single dad. We're on pretty good terms regarding almost everything when it comes to money and spending. We take turns to invite each other out weekly. They don't live together at this point, but they alternate times paying for dinner, buying each other presents, yada, yada, yada. Says several times he has asked me to pay for purchases for his kids. I don't make a big deal out of the issue. Usually it was $30 to $60 tops. The other day he called me when I was at work and sounded like he was in a hurry. He said that he found out that the gaming console that he's been looking for so long and wanted to buy for his oldest son was on sale. Said that he was short on money and needed $500 lended to him to buy this console. She said, I hesitated, but agreed. He asked for my bank account info so he could pull the money, but I refused. I said, wait till I get there. He insisted and said he'd handle it. All I had to do was send her the bank account info after I ended the call with him. I said no, and his insistence made me so uncomfortable that I locked my bank account down. Well, she said, I got to the house, found him sitting outside, said that because he didn't get the money from her, the store that he found the console, it's got to be a PS5, right? It's got to be a PS5.
It could be an Xbox.
Or an Xbox.
Yeah,
What is it? XS, whichever one's
one
on.
or the other. Yeah.
Either way, next-gen console. Said that while he was waiting on bank account info that never came, the store sold the last device, and now his kid is mad at me. I said, hey, I'm not just giving my bank account info to someone. He screamed, I'm not just someone, I'm your partner. We had a fight, and he left, end quote. Said that if we're in this relationship, I should trust him enough to know that he would have just bought the console and then paid me back down the road. Face or heel?
Well, this is not as hard as you would think. Being a gamer, you think I would side with the gamer, but here's what it comes down to: joint accounts when you're married, I think, are stupid, and you're asking for trouble. But when you're dating, you're not married. And that's a pretty big ask of someone. $500. I mean, and then making a big deal and then driving off. He's definitely the heel. He's right about how quickly those things go, though. I mean, they show up. Oh, they've got them here. Boom, they're gone. That's just how that works in this chip shortage that we're dealing with. But yeah, you can't do that. And the fact that he was so insistent on wanting her account information, why didn't she just like Venmo him?
Oh yeah, dude's a mega heel here.
She could have made the purchase from her phone where she is or something. I mean, there's a way around it. The fact that he wanted her bank account information seems a little nefarious.
Yeah. No, that's not a good look, man. First off, it's not a good look. Listen, you are 37 years old, my guy, right? I get it's for your kid. I get that your kid,
allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I get that it's for your kid. Air quoting so hard, I'm going to pull a muscle in my fingers. I get it's for your kid. But my dude, you are 37 years old. You got to be able to scrap that together. And if you can't, you tell the kid, hey, we got to work out a deal where we're going to get this money together to get you this console. You don't go to the woman you're dating and go, yo, let me just get $500 off you.
How did the kid know that the console was there? Unless you told him, hey, it's here, I'm going to go buy it.
Right.
Why tell him?
Right. I agree. You know what you're doing there? You're doing the worst heel move of all, which is you're using the kid in a game, right? Hey, really sorry, but this lady I'm dating that might be your stepmom one day wouldn't let us have the $500 to go buy that new PlayStation. Sorry, kiddo, because now that kid's going to be mad at the girlfriend and not you for failing, is what it comes down to. Like, I get not having money in a pitch, all right? I will tell you straight up, the lady friend has a couple of times been like, yo, I'm going to take care of this because, hey, that's how money works in a relationship, right? Just like vice versa. There have been times where I'm like, yo, I got the next whatever because a check's late or whatever. It happens. It doesn't happen over PlayStations, my guy. I could see, hey, I need to borrow $100 because I got to feed the kids tonight and my check didn't come through. That's one thing. That's one thing. It's another thing to go, hey, I promised Junior a PS5, but I don't promise him if you don't have 5, right? If you don't have the 5 Benjis, don't kill the kid. You're going to buy him something for 5 Benjis. And when you can't do it, blame it on the girlfriend. No, that's a bad move, my guy. Bad move. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a couple more thoughts to get out before we end our Tuesday edition with the little Twitter trending topics on the way out the door. My name is Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening to The Fan Upstate. you get the tweet I just sent you?
I did. Good. I don't know who he's going to go after. Maybe he'll take that one.
Amazing.
I don't know why, but suddenly I'm getting a bunch of D&D stuff on my Twitter page. I never looked anything up on Twitter. Just more proof it's listening.
Because it's scanning. I did read. I think I told you this. Your phones talk to each other when they're in the same vicinity.
Right. And I have Twitter on my phone, so.
Yeah. So your phone has probably cached with mine and seen all the D&D stuff I've looked at. And considering we have sent emails back and forth on computers connected to my phone
Yes.
about it.
It's mostly bad D&D ideas, which I've enjoyed. They're pretty funny, but
Playing is number one because you never stop.
it can happen. Almost.
All right, here we go. Headed towards the end of the radio broadcast. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. We talked about this, I think, a little bit last Friday. I wanted to breathe because I wanted to let it, I wanted to see what would come out of it. But the Hornets off season has been not ideal. Not ideal. Season ended in a disappointing way last year. Ended up firing your head coach. Ended up getting a new head coach, or so you thought. That head coach bailed out 2 days before the NBA draft, ended up having to go into the NBA draft without a head coach. Had to go through the draft without a head coach. And it's just not been a great. And then turns out that Miles Bridges, who was expected to be one of the puzzle pieces towards building a young franchise, his wife posted on Instagram a post detailing some very, very ugly pictures. Some pictures of injuries, bruises, cuts, etc. on her body that she claims are from Miles Bridges. She said, I hate that it has come to this, but I can't be silent anymore. I've allowed someone to destroy my home, abuse me in every way possible, and traumatize our kids for life. I have nothing to prove to the world, but I won't allow anyone who could do something so horrible to have no remorse and paint a picture of something I'm not. I won't allow the people around him to continue to silence me and continue to lie to protect this person. It's unethical. It's immoral. It's truly sick. It hurts my heart because I've always had hope and so much love, and as scary as this is for me, it's time I stand up for myself. I won't be silent to protect others anymore because I value myself and my kids more than anyone's image. A fractured nose, wrist, torn eardrum, torn muscles from my neck from being choked until I went to sleep, and a severe concussion. I don't need sympathy. I just don't want this happening to anyone else. I want this person to get help. My kids deserve better. That's all I want. It hurts. Everything hurts. The situation hurts. Most importantly, I'm scared and hurting for my kids who were witnesses to everything. Please respect my family's privacy and stop with the disgusting rumors and allegations. She wrote that on Instagram and posted with those pictures, which means, or at least assumes, that Miles Bridges was involved in this, and that's horrible. That's horrible. Takes a lot of courage for this young woman to make that post, to go public with this, especially when she points out that there have been people, allegedly, according to her story, there have been people that have been telling her not to do that in order to protect his image and protect his future, et cetera, et cetera. I hate to see that, and again, what a waste for a young man that was expected to be a huge part of what the Hornets were going to do. I mean, it kind of feels gross going like, how does this impact the Hornets, right? It kind of feels gross saying, how does this impact the Hornets, when one of the Instagram's posts was of Miles Bridges' very young child saying that he was trying to stop daddy from beating up and hurting mommy. It's gross to talk about Hornets basketball after that. What needs to be talked about is this kind of crap cannot be tolerated anymore. This kind of stuff cannot be tolerated, cannot be allowed within the league, within the association. It just can't be. It just can't be. It just can't be.
So I don't know. Was he arrested?
I do not know.
Were charges filed?
Again, all I've seen is, let's see, 3 days ago, this is from the Washington Post. Miles Bridges, one of the bigger names of this summer's NBA free agency period, was arrested on felony domestic violence charges in L.A. The LAPD confirmed the details in a statement Friday, saying that Bridges was arrested for, quote, intimate partner violence with injury, end quote, following an incident last Monday in L.A. According to online records, Bridges was booked and released on a $130 bond last Wednesday. His arraignment is on the 20th. This comes after Bridges' wife, Michelle Johnson, shared photos of various injuries Friday on Instagram, as well as an apparent medical report dated Tuesday. The report listed her diagnosis as adult victim of physical abuse by male partner, assault by strangulation, brain concussion, closed fracture of nasal bone, contusion of rib, multiple bruises, strain of neck muscle, end quote. So, yes.
Because until you just read that, and you weren't sure either.
I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Because the story's been about the social media post and not the fact that he was arrested.
Yeah, but has been arrested. So we'll see. The Hornets did have plans to bring back Miles Bridges. During a news conference introducing Steve Clifford last week, he was asked about Miles, and he said, quote, as an organization, we love Miles. We're going to bring him back. He's been great for the franchise, and I believe with his work ethic, he's only going to get better. You can't bring him back now, right? Right? You can't bring this guy back now. I don't think you can. It's a bad look, especially with everything that's going on with, and I know that it is a different situation, but everything that's going on with Deshaun and the blowback the Browns have gotten, you can't bring this guy back. And that's too bad, because the Hornets really did have the pieces in place to build that young foundation around him and Ball.
Will he play somewhere, though?
Oh, yeah, down the road. I think he's out a year.
Somewhere in the NBA, or will he go to Europe for a while?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for abusers of any type in professional sports. It's special. Again, you know, we saw what happened with Big Ben. Took an 8 game, got it reduced to what, 4. We have seen the public blowback against teams and against leagues for guys who are caught up in this type of behavior, right? with Deshaun sexual, with Miles Bridges clearly physical. And I think you are starting to see fans of teams start to walk away from teams for bringing guys like this back, and fans of leagues really start to push back. Now, again, the question's going to be, will it ever matter? Will fans ever do something that is really what hurts leagues, which is, of course, stop watching. Put their TV ratings through the floor. Stop buying merch. Stop investing in the team. So far, that's never happened. Frankly, I don't know if it will. But will Miles Bridges play again? Yeah, he will. And not only will the texter just said, it's a gross situation where a team gets rid of a scumbag like this and he goes somewhere else and thrives. 100%. 100%. And again, the question's going to be, will we as a country, will we ever do anything about it, right? Because we've seen it happen over and over and over. The team that a guy like this is on when it happens has to go, yeah, we can't be involved with that. We're releasing him. We can't be involved with that. And then a few months later, a team signs him, and what do they say every time? We believe in second chances. We believe that player X has learned his lesson. We believe that player X recognizes his mistakes and is striving to do better. And they have him go do some community service and do some photo ops and donate some money to a shelter of whatever victims he had. And then they put him on the court and he goes out there and he balls out and makes $200 million. Will we as a country ever do anything about it? I don't know. Finally, one more story before we get out of here. Coors Light. If I can find one of these, I'm buying them, Lonzo, because I love the idea. Coors Light is rolling out Championship Ice. Championship Ice is a beer that has been brewed from water melted off of the Stanley Cup Finals ice. Coors Light is celebrating, this is the press release they put out. Coors Light celebrates the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche with one heck of a marketing campaign, offering up a limited edition beer with shavings of what they're called Championship Ice. If you dare to get your hands on at least one at selected Denver locations starting Thursday, it is made with actual ice from the rink that they melted, brewed the beer out of, and now you can drink beer made from Stanley Cup Ice.
You, who does not like it when people have their shoes off in the studio, is going to drink something made from ice where people's feet basically were on it.
Yeah, but it's distilled with boiling hot water and alcohol.
Wow.
Like the two cleanest things.
Okay. All right. That's just...
I don't know that I'd drink it so much as I'd buy a can and then just sit it somewhere.
Okay.
It'd be a souvenir.
That I understand,
Yeah.
but drinking it, I don't know.
It'd be a
about
souvenir.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
that. All right. Time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending all over the world. The first thing that's trending is Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut broke two things yesterday. Number one, his record at eating hot dogs. I believe it was 63 in 10 minutes. And number two, a protester's jaw. During the Nathan's 4th of July hot dog eating contest, a protester got onto the stage and muscled his way past Joey Chestnut and another competitor with a sign that said something.
Smithfield Death Star.
That was it?
Yeah.
It was wearing a mask, and it got by. Well, Joey Chestnut, instead of doing what I assume the vast majority of people would have done, and what, just kind of like moved over and waited for security to take care of it. My dude Joey put the protester in a side headlock and then just dropped him to the table.
You missed one valuable part of the... He's got a broken leg.
Yeah.
Chestnut does.
By the way.
He's on crutches.
Oh, yeah, by the way. Joey Chestnut with a broken leg. This protester got on stage. Chestnut goes side headlock, just twist him down and backwards. I mean, you know what it looked like? It looked like Jason Statham. You know how in every Jason Statham movie he gets the one thing where he headlocks the guy and then he goes and like snaps his neck? Chestnut pulls that move on the dude. The protester goes flat. I mean, to the ground. And then what does Joey C do? Crams the rest of the hot dog that he never dropped into his mouth, turns, and picks up the next one. That is the most boss hot dog eating move of all time, ladies and gentlemen.
America. We got time for one more. Vince McMahon is trending.
I got no idea why. Did he show up on Raw again last night?
He did not. He added the woo from Ric Flair back
into the montage?
Yes, which has made it trend that he put the woo back in.
Yeah, when Rick took off and went to wherever he went off to, they removed the woo from the montage that rolls before Raw and SmackDown, and I guess they put it back in. So is Rick coming back for a farewell after he's done wrestling?
I doubt it, but he is part of the history of it, and they put it back in. One more. Today is National Bikini Day. Don't really need to say anything.
Ladies, today is yours. Do what yours. Fellas, stop being creeps. Leave them alone. All right? Just leave them alone. Jim Rome, up next. Take you back through the jungle. Mark Ryan may or may not wear a bikini on air today to celebrate. We'll find out. That's going to be at 3 o'clock for Offsides with Mark and Diesel. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to share these 3 hours with you every day, and I am certainly glad that you are here with us. We now take a 21-hour break, and we're back to do it all over again tomorrow. I am Rob Brown. He is the great Malonzo. We appreciate you listening to The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream. Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys are the best. We'll see